I want to show you an example of how you can analyze a text. And so I chose the opening of 1984. This is the first part of chapter 1. And I cut and pasted it onto this document so that I could show you, but you can write in your book, of course. And just FYI, I was able to easily cut and paste this because I found online, oops, over here, I did find online a set of PDF files, or a set of files in which all of 1984 is available. So I just cut and pasted this section onto my document. All right. So in order to read this closely, I'm going to take out a tool. So I'm going to take out a highlighter. And I'm going to highlight any words or phrases that are interesting or important as I read. And you don't always have to read this closely. Sometimes, you can just enjoy a passage. But because I'm asking you to take a microscope and really look at each word, I want you to take your time through the passage that you analyze. Okay, it was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Okay, I'm gonna... Winston Smith, his chin nuzzled into his breast in an effort to escape the vile wind, slipped quickly through the glass doors of Victory Mansions. Though not quickly enough to prevent a swirl of gritty dust from entering along with him. The hallway smelt of boiled cabbage and old rag mats. At one end of a colored poster, too large for indoor display, had been tacked to the wall. It's too large for indoor display, and yet it's being displayed inside. That's funny. It depicted simply an enormous face, more than a meter wide. The face of a man of about 45 with a heavy black mustache and ruggedly handsome features. Winston made for the stairs. It was no use trying the lift. Even at the best of times, it was seldom working. And at present, the electric current was cut off during daylight hours. It was part of the economy drive in preparation for Hate Week. The flat was 7 flights up, and Winston, who was 39 and had a varicose ulcer above his right ankle, went slowly, resting several times on the way. On each landing, opposite the lift shaft, the poster with the enormous face gazed from the wall. So each landing, the enormous face gazed. It was one of those pictures which are so contrived that the eyes follow you about when you move. Big Brother is watching you, the caption read beneath it. Beneath it ran. Okay. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a certain template. So I'm actually going to split my screen, which I'm going to minimize this one, drag it to the left, and then I'm going to click on my other one that I want. Okay, this is a template that I find very useful for analyzing text, and I find it to be an important part of your analytical toolbox. This is something you can create on your computer, or you can just take a piece of paper and run a line down it. The idea, though, is that we're going to take facts from the story, which are basically details that are written, such as clocks were striking 13. And then we're going to generate ideas about each one of those facts. And in the process of this, we're going to be doing a lot of great brainstorming, and we'll probably come up with some new ideas. So I'm going to take my highlighter, stop highlighting, because I just want to type here. I'm going to move over clocks striking 13, which is a slightly shorter version of that, which is fine because I can still refer to the text if I need to. So what do I think of clock striking 13? Well, 13 is a number that's not on the clock, so this is a different world we already know, and I'm gonna just fix that so it's not formatted like that. It's a different world. Also, 13 is unlucky, right? Usually. So, So I might say, is something wrong? Question mark. So those are my ideas. We're in a different world. It's not our own because we don't have 13 on our clocks. And something might be wrong with this world. That's what I'm gathering from that. Now, this guy's name is Winston Smith. Not really sure what ideas I have about his name. Let me move this down. Except that it's pretty ordinary. I'm not sure why it keeps formatting it underlined, but that's okay. It's an ordinary name. Let's see, Victory Mansions. That sounds so fancy. Mansion we think of as, a really fancy place, victory. So sounds fancy. But it smells like boiled cabbage. And so I'll just say smells bad right now. And it's dirty. And there's no electricity. Right? All of those facts from the book make me think that it's not a nice place to live. Let's see what else. We have Hate Week. What's that? Sounds strange, just the first idea. What is it? And what about this? He has a varicose ulcer. A varicose ulcer. What is that? Varicose ulcer at 39. Sounds like he's not so healthy. I mean, I don't know why else we'd be getting that detail. A varicose ulcer is very minor, but if Orwell is giving us that detail, why would he be giving us that detail? Is he supposed to tell us that Winston isn't physically superior? Maybe? Okay, and lastly we have Big Brother is watching you, and we have this enormous poster. It's so big it's not even supposed to be for inside. Oops, not enormous poster of Big Brother. So the biggest, most impressive, man is Big Brother. That's interesting. Now when I think about it, as I'm writing, I'm thinking, Winston, he has a varicose ulcer and he's like having a hard time getting up the stairs versus this huge, enormous poster. And it tells us that he's handsome, ruggedly handsome, actually, if we look over here. So the most impressive guy is Big Brother, and Winston isn't very superior, isn't very special. All right, so if I just stop there, I actually have a lot of ideas already. Let's look through them and see what I came up with. So I can see that something is wrong. Orwell is using details to tell us that we're entering a new world, and that in that world something is wrong. The clock is striking 13. Something's off. And we have this guy who has a seemingly ordinary name, but the world that he's living in does not seem ordinary. One of the first things that seems strange is that he lives in a place called Victory Mansions, but it's a horrible place to live. It sounds like a horrible place to live. It smells bad. There's no electricity during the day. There's dust that, seeps in. So I already see that there's a contradiction here. Orwell is already setting out the fact that there's a contradiction between words, like Victory Mansions, and reality. So he's showing us that there's a contradiction between words and reality. He's also showing that the main character, if we assume that the main character is going to be Winston Smith, is not a very powerful person. And that the most powerful person in this world is this guy on this poster that's watching him. So I'm going to stop there. But I'm going to show you next how I could turn this into an actual 2-page response.